I'm about to give birth. 10 months of pregnancy. Finally, a new life is about to arrive. However, my husband is with his childhood sweetheart, who is 10 years younger than him. He took her to the hospital for a prenatal checkup. I suddenly felt unwell. My water broke. The childhood sweetheart, leaning against my husband, covered her mouth. She showed a look of disgust. She said I looked like I wet my pants. As soon as my husband heard this, he slapped me in anger. He also said, "What a disgrace. It's better if this child is gone." After scolding me, he turned around and went to take the childhood sweetheart to a prenatal class. But he forgot we had a prenuptial agreement. I disappeared along with his assets and the child. My due date is approaching. But my husband, James, suddenly vanished. Since I got pregnant, he has hardly shown up. I went to the obstetrics and gynecology department alone, as usual. When I heard the name James called out in the announcement, I thought I had misheard. But right after that, James walked into the consultation room wearing a suit. He was with a beautiful girl. My mind went blank. I held my stomach and wobbled my way to the door. A gentle female voice said, "Brother James, thank you for accompanying me to the prenatal checkup." Otherwise, James patiently and gently responded, "Your ex-husband doesn't care about you. I'm here to take care of you. He doesn't want this child. I do." James's words shocked me so much that I dug my nails into my palm. I've never seen a man who actively puts on a green hat for himself and even helps others raise children. What about the child in my belly? My heart was racing. My chest hurt badly throughout the entire pregnancy. James spent very little time at home. The last time he replied to my WeChat message was 9 months ago. The door opened. James came out of the examination room just as our eyes met. He was taken aback for a moment. Then his face immediately showed an expression of anger. "Emily, why are you following me?" James slapped me across the face. At the same time, he tightened his grip around the girl's waist. I covered my flushed face with my hand. I felt very sad inside. Following, today is my due date. I'm not at the hospital. Where else could I be? James took off his custom-made high-end suit jacket. He crumpled it into a ball and placed it on the iron chair. "Take your time sitting down. Don't rush." He continued speaking. "You're already this big now. You have to learn to take good care of yourself." The girl showed a sweet smile. Her 2 canine teeth looked especially cute. "Isn't that you?" James gently ruffled her hair. Then he turned to me and said, "Sophia is pregnant. If you mess around, let her have any accidents. I guarantee you will regret it. I know that girl. She often comes to our house for dinner. A childhood friend 10 years younger than James. I didn't expect them to be together. Brother James, the sister-in-law doesn't smell very good." Sophia buried her face in James's chest. Her expression showed clear disgust. She turned to look at me. Her gaze was like looking at someone particularly ridiculous. Couldn't help but let out a gag. Sophia gagged a few times. She said worriedly, "I won't end up looking this ugly in the future, will I?" James listened and gently kissed her forehead. "Fool, no matter how you change, I will always be with you." A passionate kiss expressing deep desires. James gently lifted Sophia's face and kissed her. Their lips are tightly pressed together. He didn't notice me at all. James asked softly, "Now all you can smell is my scent. Do you feel better?" Sophia is a bit shy. She gently kissed James' lips. She said with a smile so fragrant, "James, my brother, can you give it to me when we go back?" James agreed. He turned to look at me. "What are you still standing here for? This is really unbearable, so embarrassing. Hurry back. My due date has already arrived." The doctor specifically advised me not to take a shower this week. Am I not clean? Isn't it all for the safe birth of the child? I was once the champion of a provincial beauty pageant. Unparalleled beauty. James thinks I'm beautiful. He pursued me relentlessly. He was very gentle and considerate towards me. But now, because my body has changed due to pregnancy, he cheated on me, still saying I look like an old hag. At this moment, the brother who was helping Sophia get her pregnancy checkup report arrived. He asked, "Has sister-in-law arrived?" "Sister-in-law has been watching Brother James. Is it that you also want Brother James to kiss you? This smell is too bad. Who can eat this? Why don't you beg me? I might help you." The brother said some excessive words, but James wasn't angry. Instead, he disdainfully said, "Women of this age with ordinary looks. Being with her is simply a torment. If it weren't because she was pregnant with James' child, I would have broken up with her long ago." The brother looked at me with a scrutinizing gaze. Finally, he revealed an uncomfortable smile. "Brother James is right. Women become less attractive after having children. It really makes one lose interest. James stared wide-eyed, angrily said, "What are you saying in front of Sophia?" The brother was taken aback for a moment, suddenly remembered that Sophia was also pregnant. At that moment, she was holding back tears, snuggled in James's arms. Sophia is young and beautiful. After having a child, she will definitely be more charming. How could she compare? She's older now, and not as good-looking, just like Sophia's grandmother. Sophia wiped her tears and smiled as she said, "Don't talk nonsense. Don't make fun of my grandmother. My grandmother doesn't smell this bad." Facing such humiliation, I couldn't help but slap my brother, but just as my hand came down, James kicked me with all his might. "Are you crazy? How dare you hit my friend?" James doesn't care that I'm carrying his child. He put all his strength into that kick. Sophia listened to her friend's words. She immediately grabbed James' arm tightly. "Brother James, don't get angry over things that aren't worth it. It's harmful to your health." Michael spoke too harshly. "She is your wife. Not respecting her is equivalent to not respecting you. Your sister-in-law does this to seek justice for you." After hearing this, James immediately relaxed his furrowed brow. He nodded and said, "Sophia is right." James shot me a dark look. Then he said to his brother, "Don't mention that woman is my wife. It's really uncomfortable. Who told you to say those things in front of Sophia? You need to apologize to Sophia." I was half kneeling on the ground in pain. My mind felt a bit dazed, but James was still fixated on those trivial apologies. By those who care. Even if you do nothing, you can still have everything. My cold sweat dripped onto the ground. The intense pain swept over my body like a tsunami. It left me breathless. Something is leaking out." Sophia took a step back, covering her mouth and nose, showing a look of disgust, as if she saw something unpleasant. She shouted, "Sister-in-law peed her pants. Brother James, this is so embarrassing with so many people watching. I thought I had peed my pants." It was then that I realized. My water broke. I'm about to give birth. James saw the situation. His reaction was even stronger than Sophia's. "Oh my God, how can this woman be so dirty? Is childbirth this difficult for women? Can't even control her urination." I didn't have time to respond to James's accusation. I quickly grabbed his pant leg. "I'm about to give birth. Quick, call the doctor." James's gaze fell on my belly, staring at the obvious bulge. "It's time to give birth." She even lied about it. "My mom told me. Your due date is next month." James stepped back. He said, "I'm getting older. I can't even control my urination. This woman is really disgusting. She's of no use at all. She even lies. She doesn't deserve to be a mother at all." After listening, James kicked my belly again. "She still dares to lie." Sophia lazily leaned on James's shoulder and said, "James, brother, even if sister-in-law wants to have a baby now, it's better not to have one." She wet her pants. She should at least care about her image. Lying is understandable. But why not go to the bathroom when you need to? Could it be that she just couldn't hold it anymore? Sophia looked as if she had discovered a big secret. She gently covered her slightly parted lips with her hand and said, "The doctor said, only those women who play around during pregnancy can't help but feel the urge to urinate." Sophia looked at her sister-in-law. She swallowed her words back. Although her few words were brief, the meaning was already very clear. Sure enough, James suddenly became anxious. His face turned ugly. He directly reached out and grabbed my neck. "You are actually pregnant with my child, and you have relations with others. You are truly outrageous. Unassuming in appearance, but your behavior is so outrageous. You're not that young anymore, and still so reckless. I'm only 32 this year. It's just that I look a bit haggard during pregnancy." James kept calling me ugly names. I couldn't help but feel sad. I remembered how he used to hold me, gently calling me little darling. Back then, no matter what I wanted to do, he would be busy helping me, afraid that I would get tired. Now, James is acting like he's gone mad. He didn't give me a chance to explain at all. He rushed in front of me and started hitting me. "Hurry up and speak. Who is that person? Is this child really mine?" I tightly protect my belly, explain loudly. My water broke. I'm about to give birth. I'm begging you, quickly call the doctor. Is that okay?" James stopped his actions. He scrutinized me closely. Seems to be thinking about something. I seized the last opportunity, spoke urgently. "Really?" The amniotic fluid broke. The amniotic fluid mixed with blood, slowly flowed all over the ground. This is completely different from urine. Just as James was about to calm down, Sophia spoke. "Urine mixed with blood. How can you tell if it's amniotic fluid?" But the kicks were too hard. "There's bleeding. If we don't find a doctor soon, the child might be gone." Upon hearing this, James's expression immediately darkened, at this point wanting to protect the child, without revealing who the child's father is. Don't even mention the water breaking. Even if it's a miscarriage, it's self-inflicted. I had the nurse terminate the pregnancy. I'm in pain and scared. I can only shake my head desperately. There really is no one else. This is your child. You cannot terminate your child. James, however, smiled and replied casually. You can have a child for me. Sophia can too. Sophia is young and beautiful. The child born will definitely be smart and lovely. Moreover, the child you are carrying is not mine. It has nothing to do with me. James tightly wrapped his arms around Sophia's waist. He gently kissed her ear. This action made Sophia unable to help but laugh. Her face also turned red. I forcibly held back the heartache and said, "This hospital is all yours. If this child isn't yours, someone would have told you long ago. You can go ask. My due date has arrived. I'm here at the hospital to give birth today." I was almost shouting. I wanted to use my voice to remind James of his last bit of conscience. James finally calmed down. What I said does make sense. This hospital is owned by the James family. He can even know the child's gender. If there really is a problem with the child, the hospital will definitely notify him. James thought for a moment. He said firmly, "I'll go find a nurse and ask." Sophia stopped James. "James, brother, don't let them deceive you. I'm also pregnant. Of course I understand the situation of pregnant women. My sister-in-law didn't actually have her water break. Frequent activity during pregnancy leads to relaxation of the pelvic floor muscles, causing urinary incontinence. The demands during pregnancy are so intense. It's even more imaginable during normal times. Brother James, you are usually busy with work. You don't have time to accompany your sister-in-law. So how does she spend those long nights? And your sister-in-law is Mrs. James. It's easy to apply some pressure or offer benefits to the medical staff." These words are like a bomb. They exploded in James's mind with a bang. They completely disrupted his thoughts. Brother James is still fanning the flames beside him. They say older people have many tricks. Who would have thought they could pull this kind of stunt? If this child is born, isn't my brother James just helping someone else raise a child? This is simply taking the blame for others. James's eyes turned red with anger. It felt like a slap across my face. Blood seeped from the corner of my mouth. "You dare betray me," he said angrily. "I support you not just for you to eat and do nothing. I'm counting on you to have children. Being pregnant has made you utterly haggard. It looks a bit unpleasant, but I see you're having a son. I've decided to continue taking care of you, but you betrayed me." James crouched down. He grabbed my neck with his hand and slammed my head against the wall. "This child cannot be kept," he also said. "Don't think you can have it easy either," he said. "Who is it?" James has lost his mind. No matter what I say, he only hits me harder. Seeing that I refuse to name that person, James angrily stepped on my hand. I come from a family of Gukin players. My hands are more important to me than my life. When James married me, he even specially bought insurance for my hands. He said, "These hands are as white as gold rings when playing the Gukin. The skin is crystal clear and radiant. They must be well cared for." But now he tramples on them fiercely with his shoe. All of this is because of the instigation by the little green plum. Are you still unwilling to speak? That person makes you so happy. You would rather die to protect him. I hoarsely said again, "There is no such person." Sophia grabbed James's arm and said, "Stop hitting. Perhaps we misunderstood. There is really no such person. If my sister-in-law wants to have a baby, let her have one. It's the only way she can keep a man, by getting pregnant." Her eyes were filled with arrogance, clearly provoking me. She knows the child is James's. This is the first time I truly feel the power struggles in the palace. James's gaze was as cold as ice. "To keep a man. Emily, you are already married to me. Who else do you want to keep? You are really terrible." James kept hitting my stomach hard, each hit heavier than the last. Does he really want to kill this child? I felt a tightness in my heart. Suddenly, I spat out a mouthful of blood. James looked at me. There was not a trace of concern in his eyes. Instead, he coldly laughed and grabbed my hair. He slapped me hard. "Stop pretending." James thought I was lying. He lifted his leg and kicked my stomach forcefully. Once, then again, I wanted to scream for help, but only a few mouthfuls of blood came out. At that moment, 2 nurses walked past the corridor. They saw me curled up in the corner. They intended to come over to help, but James shot them a glare. They were scared and walked away. "Go away. Don't disturb me while I handle family matters." This hospital is a private property of the James family. James is like a local emperor here. No one dares to defy him. I tightly protected my pregnant belly. I just wanted to protect the child inside me. The child's father has poor character, but the child is innocent. Seeing me struggle desperately, James was furious. Shout loudly, bind her up. His brother didn't say a word, take out the belt. My hands were bound like a pig. No, no, I screamed loudly, begging desperately. But James had already lost his mind. Every kick was with all his strength. I was in so much pain that I gradually lost consciousness. Suddenly, I felt a surge of warmth beneath me. Someone shouted, "Blood, so much blood." My sister-in-law lost a lot of blood. The baby is gone. At that moment, my heart sank to the bottom. James felt more pain in his heart than in his body. It was a pain beyond description. He ended his child's life with his own hands. In the end, he stopped moving. He lit a cigarette. After taking a deep breath, he slowly exhaled the smoke. He said firmly, "No one is allowed to help her with the pregnancy. Continue." He turned to Sophia. He instructed concisely, "Sophia, go to the airport." The voice gradually faded away. In the end, all I heard was that James had booked the most authoritative prenatal education class abroad. He planned to go abroad with Sophia to attend the class. I completely lost consciousness. I collapsed on the cold tiles. The blood beneath me flowed continuously like a breached dam. My consciousness became increasingly blurred. Will we die here together with the child? Just as I completely lost consciousness, a tall figure slowly approached. "Emily, after the surgery. I was in a coma for 3 whole days and nights. I had a dream. In the dream, someone kept calling my name. They told me not to die. Unfortunately, at that time, I didn't listen to my parents' advice. I insisted on marrying James. After I drove them away, no one cared about my life or death anymore. I struggled to open my heavy eyes. A force tightly grasped my hand. Emily, I looked at the person in front of me in surprise. Lucas, he was mature and steady when we were kids. He always put me first. He spoiled me like a princess. He was my neighbor's older brother. Didn't he already go abroad? Lucas and I liked each other. We originally planned to get engaged after I graduated from college, but I couldn't resist James's intense pursuit. Lucas's eyes were filled with tears. He gently touched my face and said, "Emily, you have been wronged. What you have gone through. I will definitely seek justice for you." I thought Lucas was comforting me. Who knew? During the 3 days I was in a coma, the atmosphere in James' group was tense. Everyone felt uneasy. In 3 days, the main business of James' group has encountered a series of problems. First of all, they were exposed for using substandard products and attempted to replace quality goods with inferior ones. Then, their food processing factory was subjected to a surprise inspection. As a result, various food additives were found to be non-compliant with standards. James' group originally intended to suppress this matter, but somehow the news leaked out. Major media outlets began reporting on James' group's food safety issues. Suddenly, James' group became the focus of everyone's attention. At this time, James was still abroad, undergoing closed-door training with Sophia, learning how to be qualified parents. The executives of James' group couldn't reach James, so they went directly to the hospital. Lucas coldly said a few words, and then dismissed them. "This is not James' group's private hospital. If you want to cause trouble, you've come to the wrong place. It's been years since we last met." Lucas has become the head of the obstetrics and gynecology department in a public hospital. He's actually not very interested in studying medicine. His favorite thing is playing games, but when he was a child, he accidentally heard that giving birth is very painful for women. He secretly came to find me. He said I shouldn't have children in the future. I gave him a sideways glance and told him he was silly. I just like children. Lucas kept this in mind. Since I like them, he tried his best to support me. I suddenly thought of the child in my belly. I held onto Lucas's hand tightly as if grasping a lifeline. "My child is where? I've been awake for so long. Lucas hasn't mentioned the child at all. I probably have an idea in my heart." Lucas looked at me with a puzzled expression. "Lucas, let me see the child one more time," I replied. "Are you planning to give the child to someone else to raise? The child's father is of poor character, but the child is innocent. But the child is not at fault." Lucas paused for a moment. He said softly, "But if the child reminds you of sad memories, I will respect any decision you make." After saying that, she picked up her phone. She notified the nurse to return the child to the incubator. A glimmer of hope suddenly flashed in my eyes. The child is still alive. After a week of recuperation, my body has almost recovered. As I was holding the child, ready to leave the hospital, Lucas stopped me. "If you plan to leave, James, can you look back at me?" Many words were stuck in my throat but couldn't be spoken. I used to be young and beautiful, with anyone. We were praised as a perfect match. Now I am no longer as radiant as before, and I have a child with me. But Lucas has a bright future ahead. I cannot hold him back. I put away my sadness. Shaking my head, I said, "Thank you," seeing that I disagreed. Lucas's voice became a bit subdued. "If you still care about James, want to give him a break, I can stop at any time. Are you still thinking about James?" I saw the sadness deep within her through Lucas's eyes. It turns out he misunderstood. This is also good. It lets Lucas forget me sooner, to find the happiness that truly belongs to him. I didn't explain. I just said, "No need for that. You are helping me stand up for myself." How could I let Lucas stop? I think he hasn't dealt with it thoroughly enough. His methods are not strong enough. I didn't go back to James's villa. Instead, I settled the kids at my parents' house. Later on, I went to a private hospital under James' group. On the way to the hospital, I opened my phone as usual. Habitually went to James's Weibo. I habitually checked James's Weibo. I found out that I was in a coma for 3 days due to severe bleeding during childbirth. James traveled through 11 countries in Europe with Sophia. They left traces of their passionate romance in different places. The last Weibo post was posted on the deck of the cruise ship. James booked the entire cruise ship and painted it a dreamy pink. He wore a pure white suit and knelt on one knee, holding a ruby that sparkled like the sun, the Rose Life star. The caption was, "A gift for my sunshine." James spent money extravagantly as he and Sophia immersed themselves in their passionate feelings. Meanwhile, I went to a private hospital, using the identity of Mrs. James. I obtained the surveillance footage from a few days ago. "Mrs. James, how is your health?" I saw James's men at the hospital trying to gather information. I smiled slightly. "Don't worry, the child is safe as well. James has had his fun. I'm waiting for him to come home." I put on the appearance of a devoted wife. I must not let anyone see that something is off. I took out my phone. I organized the chat history and video recordings inside. I edited them. Once everything was ready, I opened the computer. I logged into that long unused account. In the past, I was a highly regarded genius Gyukin player, just posting a performance video. Could easily get thousands of likes. My account had over 1 million followers. But after getting married, James didn't want me to appear in public, so I never performed publicly again, and I haven't logged into that account since. After I uploaded all the videos, I simply hit the publish button. I spent a lot of money using James's card. I invested millions to buy traffic in just a few minutes. James' group topped the trending list. The topic was the new era of keeping concubines and disregarding wives. James' group's president was exposed for abusing his pregnant wife. This sparked public interest. At the same time, reports emerged of him being intimate with a third party in front of his wife. In addition, he is also accused of intending to terminate the life of the unborn child. These actions have raised societal doubts about his humanity. The PR department of James' group acted quickly. They immediately issued a statement to clarify. This is merely a dispute between the couple. No incidents of violence occurred. There were no so-called abortion situations either. The videos and photos circulating are all fake. Please do not believe the rumors online. Regarding the debunking, netizens do not believe it. They asked, "Isn't the president of James' group going to explain?" I am sitting in the live broadcast room, faced with some doubts and criticisms. He responded directly. James' group said my video was edited. Then do they dare to live stream the complete surveillance video from that day? James not only betrayed his marriage, but also laid hands on his pregnant wife. He even wanted to harm his own flesh and blood. I took out the paternity test between my son and James. It clearly states the father-son relationship in bold, black letters. It's particularly eye-catching. James not only has a bad character, he also lacks moral principles in business. I brought out several business contracts, signed by James. These were given to me by Lucas. Inside is evidence of James using shadow contracts to evade taxes. They also secretly transport foreign waste to the domestic market, profiting from ill-gotten gains. Once these contracts and evidence are exposed, it will make the already struggling James group even harder to sustain. James's father called me. His tone became particularly gentle. It was completely different from before. "Emily, Where are you now? Your grandson has been born. Why haven't you come home yet? I didn't expect James to treat you this way. It's my father's oversight. You should bring your grandson back. Dad will come to pick you up. I held the phone, silently listening to him perform. If I had to say who treated me the worst in the James family, it would definitely be James's father. When I just married James, he was the one who opposed it the most. James and I have only been married for 2 months. James's dad actually took advantage of the house being empty and secretly watched me shower. I had a huge fight with him. Since then, he hates me even more when James is on business trips. He doesn't let me eat at the table. He insists that I eat and live with the nanny. He even makes me do housework. My once delicate hands have become rough from all the toil. He even had someone lock me in the wine cellar. I was frozen for 3 whole days and nights. If it weren't for James coming back early from his business trip, I might have frozen to death in the wine cellar. James went to confront him about it, but as soon as James's dad opened his mouth, he accused me of seducing him. At that time, James didn't believe it. After our relationship started to fade, James always brings this up to blame me for something I clearly didn't do, yet it has become my stain. Emily, quick, end the stream. Don't talk about family matters outside. Wait for James to come back. I will make sure he apologizes to you properly, I said coldly. Friends in the live stream heard that. Right, James's father said that family scandals should not be aired. Everything I said is true, through my revelations. More and more people are starting to expose negative news about James Group. It's only been 2 days. The stock of James Group has hit the limit down. James's father contacted me again. He said he wanted to meet his grandson. I immediately hung up the phone. I changed to a new SIM card. Then, I filed for divorce in court. There is solid evidence of James's domestic violence, infidelity, and harm to his biological child. The court has already issued a summons to him, notifying him to appear in court. Unfortunately, he is not even in the country. I don't know where he is having fun with Sophia, because he didn't appear in court. I applied for a default judgment. I won the lawsuit directly. When dealing with the division of property, I took out the property agreement signed by James. I successfully obtained most of his personal assets. This agreement was something James made to pursue me. It was a way to show his sincerity. If he had been there at the time, he would definitely have objected to this. I might not have gotten a single penny. Unfortunately, he is abroad. This just gave me the opportunity to move his assets. After coming out of the court, I ran into Lucas. He saw me with a big smile on my face. He casually took the bag from my hand. Smiling, he said, "Congratulations, you are really strong. I thought it would be hard for you to let go." I replied with a bitter smile. If I weren't strong, who could I rely on? Me, though Lucas's voice was soft. His tone was very firm. I was momentarily at a loss for words, so I changed the subject. I'm planning to go abroad. Lucas's heart suddenly tightened. I guessed. He misunderstood again. I'm not looking for James. I just want to go out for a walk. I just finished speaking. Lucas looked at me with a wronged expression. I also need to clear my mind. Can't you let me come along? I'm strong enough, and I can help. That's all I have to say. Lucas showed me his solid biceps. I helplessly touched my forehead. You're over 30. Don't get too close to me, a remarried woman. It will affect your reputation. Be careful not to end up single. Lucas stopped joking. He lowered his head. He said softly, "You know, I've been waiting for you, I understand, but I can't respond. My heart is already bruised. Right now, I just want to take good care of myself. I sold all my houses. I've moved back to my parents' house. Actually, going abroad is not just to relax. I want to see my parents more. Let them see their grandson." I called several times. No one answered. There's nothing I can do. I can only look for Lucas again. Let him give it a try. The phone only rang twice, and the other party picked up. "Lucas, how have you been lately?" Lucas handed the phone to me. "Let me take it." I haven't contacted my parents in many years. Suddenly hearing their voices, I was at a loss for words. My lips moved for a long time, but I couldn't even say Mom. "Auntie, I'm doing well. Emily is right beside me. She said she misses you." I gave Lucas a grateful look, waiting for my mother's response. Is she still mad at me? On the other end of the line, my mother was silent for a long time. After a while, my mother's aged voice trembled a bit. "Is she okay?" Lucas glanced at me. "Speak. This matter is uncertain. We need to meet and talk to know for sure. I'm worried my mother will refuse." He quickly snatched the phone and said, "Mom, let's meet. Is that okay?" Lucas and I walked into the airport together. This time I was on the private jet I got after the divorce. I have to pay for it. Take a good look at who I am." A familiar figure came into view. James was wearing a deep purple suit. The golden threads on his outfit sparkled in the sunlight. He grabbed a handful of cash and threw it at the flight attendant's face. "You want money, right? I have plenty of money. Get on your knees. Use your mouth to pick up the money on the floor one by one. All this money will belong to you." The flight attendant was trembling in fear. She kept apologizing, but James still didn't let her off the hook. "Your voice is so loud. What if I scare Sophia's baby?" I slowly walked over. I whispered, "Mom dares to do those things. Why is the baby so timid?" James looked at me. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. "Emily, you care so much about me. He has been asking about my itinerary. I just got off the plane. He hurried to pick me up." I ignored him. I spoke directly to Lucas behind me. "Let's get on the plane." James saw Lucas. He was instantly furious. "This must be that heartless man holding your child." It's really speechless. I don't want to say the child is James's anymore. She took out the divorce certificate from her bag. She threw it on the ground and said, "You pick it up. Look for yourself." After saying the last sentence, I took Lucas onto the plane. I stopped in my tracks, just a reminder. "Oh, don't forget, flying on my plane requires payment." "Stop right there." James tore the divorce certificate to shreds. "Only Mrs. James can fly on James Group's plane. You, get down here quickly," seeing me standing still. James let out a few cold laughs. I knew it. "A woman like you who values money so much, how could you be willing to divorce? You think just finding any man to play along with you would make me believe it." "Emily, I have no feelings for you anymore. No matter what you do, I will never fall in love with you again." Seeing James so confident, I couldn't help but laugh. "Money, as if you had any." I reminded him to turn on his phone and take a closer look. Didn't expect that his phone was stolen abroad. James had no choice but to call his dad using Sophia's phone. For every additional minute of the call, James's expression became even more grim. After hanging up the phone, James opened the browser. The internet is flooded with news about James Group being investigated, ordered to halt production, stocks plummeting and facing bankruptcy. James is breathing heavily. His gaze turned to the baby in the cradle. He felt confused inside. "Is this really my child?" "That's my son." He reached out to hold him. Lucas quickly dodged away. I kicked James down directly. "This is my son. Remember that. His last name is Emily, not James." The nearby security guards whispered among themselves. They were saying that James is bankrupt yet still so arrogant. Wonder where he gets his confidence from. James shouted angrily, "Stop talking, stop talking." He immediately turned and ran out. I said with a sneer, "You don't really think you can turn the situation around, do you? The bankruptcy of James Group is already a done deal. Accept reality." Sophia gently linked her arm with James. She comforted him. "Don't listen to those words. The James Group has been family-run for so many years. How could it easily fall apart?" Looking at Sophia's silly expression, I couldn't help but laugh. "Your Sophia family wants to rely on James Group's funds to get through this tough time. You have latched onto James, being both a comfort and a companion. In the end, you got nothing. You must feel very uncomfortable inside." Sophia angrily lunged at me. "You are talking nonsense. I want to tear your mouth apart." I originally didn't intend to make things difficult for her, but Sophia came looking for trouble herself. "James, if you dare to slap Sophia 100 times in front of me." I originally planned to explain a bit about James Group. Actually, it was just a joke. James actually slapped Sophia across the face. I can't help but curse him for being so foolish. The Sophia family isn't as good as it used to be, but after all, the foundation is still there. At least they can still help James a bit. He has now hit Sophia. The relationship with the James family has completely broken down. I watched while counting. I was counting. My face showed an expression of watching the fun. 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits, continue, don't slow down or stop. Sophia was beaten to the point of tears. She was calling out for James, hoping to make him change his mind. Brother James, don't listen to her nonsense. The James Group won't collapse so easily. She must be lying to you." As soon as Sophia spoke up, James became even angrier. He hit her hard. He said, "It's all your fault. That's why the James Group has become what it is now. Even if Emily doesn't stop me, I will still teach you a lesson. When I count to 99, James looked at me with great anticipation. Then, I silently boarded the plane under his expectant gaze, leaving only a single sentence, "You're really foolish." The James Group completely collapsed. Partners began to suppress it one after another. James Group's last hope was also shattered. The James family's villa was auctioned off. James had no place to live. He moved into a tenement building in the old district. The walls there were always moldy. There was even no air conditioning. After living there for a month, James's father developed lung cancer. James had no money to treat him. One night, he quietly left with all the money. No one knew where he went. Perhaps he is no longer in this world. Perhaps he is no longer in this world. Maybe he has become homeless. Sophia's situation is slightly better than James's. Sophia's family filed for bankruptcy a long time ago. She returned to her hometown, but Sophia was still not satisfied. After giving birth to the child, she secretly went to her ex-husband to ask for living expenses. Her ex-husband was already unhappy about her being with James. Sophia was beaten badly. She almost got her child hurt as well in the end. She returned to her hometown with a large sum of compensation, dragging her injured leg back home. The child was taken away by her ex-husband. To prevent Sophia from asking her ex-husband for money again under the guise of the child. Although Sophia had difficulty walking, at least she was still alive. I am sitting on a plane back home. Mom is sitting next to me, teaching the child to call her grandparents. I look out at the blue sky, feeling like I am flying towards a bright future. Lucas by the window just turned his head and shared a smile with me.